On March 25, 2026, Google published a blog post that should have been front-page news in every country on Earth. It wasn't. In fact, you probably didn't hear about it at all. Because while you were watching the AI hype cycle, Google quietly admitted something terrifying. The encryption protecting your bank account, your medical records, and every classified government document on the planet has 6 fewer years to live than we thought. Not 60, 6. And the men and women who study this for a living, the cryptographers, the NSA, the people whose entire job is to not be surprised by this, they were blindsided. So before you scroll away, give me 90 seconds, because what I'm about to show you is the most important infrastructure story of the decade, and somehow it's the one nobody is telling. Let's set the scene. For 30 years, cryptographers have had a running joke. Q-Day is always 10 to 20 years away. Q-Day, in case you missed the memo, is the moment a quantum computer becomes powerful enough to crack the math that protects basically everything digital. RSA and elliptic curve cryptography, the 2 locks on the front door of the Internet. The NSA said, relax, we've got until 2031. The broader U.S. government said, 2035 is fine. The UK's National Cybersecurity Center said 2035, and even called the migration a complex change program that makes fixing the Millennium bug look easy. That's their words, not mine. IT Pro. Then Google walked in, looked at every one of those deadlines and said, cute, we're done by 2029. That's 2 years ahead of the NSA, 6 years ahead of the broader U.S. benchmark. Heather Adkins, Google's VP of Security Engineering, and senior cryptography engineer Sophie Schmig published the post. No press conference, no hype reel, just a polite digital grenade lobbed into the server room of every Fortune 500 company on Earth, Ars Technica. Brian LaMacchia, the guy who ran Microsoft's post-quantum transition for 7 years, basically said, that's aggressive. What do they know that we don't? And when the guy who spent 7 years migrating the world's largest software company off RSA tells you Google's timeline surprised him, that's not a tech story anymore. That's a flare in the sky. Good question, Brian. Let's answer it. Why Google panicked? Here's where it gets uncomfortable. In 2012, breaking a 2048-bit RSA key was estimated to require a quantum computer with 1 billion physical qubits. By 2019, that number dropped to 20 million. Still safe-ish, still sci-fi. Then, in June 2025, Google's own scientist, Craig Gidney, published research showing you could do it with just 1 million noisy qubits in under a week. But here's the part that should make you spit out your coffee. On March 30th and 31st of 2026, days after Google's announcement, 2 more papers dropped. One from Google Quantum AI with Stanford and Berkeley, one from Caltech, and they showed that with a new error correction method called qLDPC codes, you could break RSA 2048 with as few as 102,000 physical qubits. Elliptic curve cryptography? About 26,000. QuanSecure. For perspective, current labs already have arrays of 6,100 atoms. We are no longer talking about an order of magnitude gap. We're talking about a factor of 4. That's not decades away. That's a couple of engineering sprints away. In 13 years, the requirement to crack the lock on your bank account fell from 1 billion qubits to 100,000. That's a 10,000-fold collapse. If your retirement plan dropped that fast, you'd be living in a van down the river. And here's the quiet part out loud. Google didn't move the deadline because quantum got faster. They moved it because the math protecting you got cheaper to break, and that curve isn't slowing down. It's accelerating.
Now here's the part nobody on cable news will tell you. The threat isn't 2029. The threat is right now. It's called Harvest Now, Decrypt Later. Intelligence agencies, Chinese, Russian, North Korean, and yes, probably ours too, are right now vacuuming up encrypted internet traffic by the petabyte. They can't read it yet, but they're storing it, waiting, like a creepy guy at a wedding who saves your business card for later. every encrypted email you sent in 2024, every banking transaction, every diplomatic cable, every trade secret, every medical record, every private signal message before they upgraded their encryption. It's all sitting on a hard drive in some warehouse, waiting for Q-Day to arrive so it can be cracked open like a piñata at a 6-year-old's birthday party. This is why Google moved the deadline, because the data you're trying to protect today has a shelf life that ends in 2029. Think about that. The encryption you trust today isn't protecting your data. It's only delaying the moment a hostile government reads it. And that delay just got 6 years shorter on a Wednesday afternoon without a single headline. Here's where it gets genuinely funny, in a dark, this is fine, dog in burning room kind of way. Bain Company published research in January 2026. 90% of organizations don't have systems in place to defend against quantum threats. 71% expect a quantum-enabled attack within 5 years, and only 1 in 10 has an actual roadmap, PYMTS. So let me translate that out of consultant speak. 9 out of 10 companies know the asteroid is coming, can see it in the sky, and are currently arguing about whether to repaint the deck chairs. Google, meanwhile, started preparing in 2016, a full decade of work. They're integrating ML-DSA, that's Module Lattice Digital Signature Algorithm, a new NIST-approved quantum-resistant standard, directly into Android 17's hardware root of trust. App signatures, the Play Store, verified boot, key store, all of it. Ars Technica. The richest tech company on Earth with the best cryptographers money can hire gave itself 10 years. Your bank gave itself a memo and a PowerPoint. What this actually means for you. Let's get practical. If you're watching this, you probably, 1, have a bank account. That bank uses RSA or elliptic curve crypto right now. If they don't migrate to PQC by 2029, your transaction history, your account numbers, your authentication tokens, all of it becomes readable to anyone who's been harvesting it. 2, use a smartphone. Good news, Apple already rolled out PQ3 on iMessage. Signal added ML-KEM768 last year. Google's putting ML-DSA in Android 17. The boring brand of phone your aunt uses? Probably not. 3, work for a company. Ask one question at your next meeting. What's our post-quantum migration roadmap? If the room goes silent, congratulations, you work for one of the 90%. And 4, if you're a developer, the days of lazy RSA implementations are numbered. NIST finalized the first PQC standards in 2024. The algorithms exist. Cloudflare, AWS, Google, they've all started rolling out hybrid modes that use both classical and quantum-resistant crypto in parallel. Use them. Here's the part that I think is genuinely being missed in every news article about this. Google didn't move the deadline because quantum computers got better. Quantum computers have always been getting better. Google moved the deadline because the math got worse for us. The error correction overhead just collapsed. The qubit requirement just collapsed. The number of unknowns that protected us shrank from millions to thousands. Q-Day used to be a wall. Now it's a doorway. And Google, the company with the best view of the quantum hardware landscape in the world, just told us they can see daylight through it. So no, this isn't a story about cryptography. It's a story about how the most important infrastructure announcement of the decade was made in a Wednesday blog post, and the world shrugged because there wasn't a launch event.